Today is to get an encapsulation of entrepreneurship. Is the future of work just about coding or programming? Like, I want to get that enlightenment about the future of work. Thank you.
Enlightenment about the future of work. Can I just ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you a web developer?
Sorry?
Are you a web developer?
Not really.
Coding?
No.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Software engineering?
No, I do electrical engineering.
But all those things you want to learn or tap into in this expo.
Yeah, but also to get to know whether that's the way to go, whether some other opportunities for people who don't know coding can tap into.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Mayanja.
Welcome.
All right. Thank you so much. Two more. I want a lady. Yes, the lady in purple in the back. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm called Lydia Labanya, writer for New Vision.
Okay.
So my expectation today is, leave alone reporting the work I do. As a person, I would want to learn how to teach other youth, because there are so many youth-led enterprises out there, but they're not innovative. So how can we skill them to be more innovative? Yeah. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much, Lydia. How can we skill the youth to be innovative? And you said you're a writer?
Yes, I am.
A writer at New Vision.
New Vision.
Ah, okay. I know for a lot of people, I'm a media personality as well, so I know when stories are, trying to cut across from one area to another, especially when the news team is working and we're trying to get the story from the field to the editor to the anchor. We've relied very heavily on technology. I'll tell you that for a fact. But I know a lot of media houses in Uganda also heavily rely on that. And even just the mere fact that you need connectivity. If you're doing a live event such as this one, just so you know, we're actually live online right now. But if you're doing a live event like this one, you need to have top-notch internet connection. You need to have the best software, best equipment. You need to be like these guys, in short. Shout out to Fenon in the building. Shout out to Fenon. Yeah, you can clap. It's okay. It's okay. You can clap. All right. Let me take just one more expectation for the 3-day Career Expo. Just one more. Anyone? Guys in the back, even members of the press, by the way, you can also give us your expectations. Members of the press who are also present, we thank you so much for taking some time to come and hang out with us here. But you can also give us your expectations. I don't know. I was going to ask DJ Alicia what her expectation is, but we'll get to her in a bit. We'll get to DJ Alicia in a bit. All right. So this year's Career Expo, NSSF Career Expo, is sponsored first and foremost by NSSF, A Better Life. And I hope that before you leave, if you do not have an NSSF number, you go and get registered, We're actually putting up a registration book at the entrance. So if you don't have an NSSF number and you'd love to, get some knowledge on the process of how to actually, register, I think before you leave today, don't wait for Friday, today, make sure your name, your number, and wherever you're doing, if you're still in university or after university, if you're in a business, please, you need to get your NSSF number, all right? Also, the NSSF Career Expo is also sponsored by Motive, Make the Future. And this is frame of Motive. It's a creative hub. It's a place where young people like myself, like some of you, can come here and tap into those different skills, You're into graphics, you're into music, you're into art, you're into tech, you're into culture, into fashion. We have so many displays. If you're into tapping into your creative side, Motive is the place to be, all right? I have a couple of responses here in terms of expectations, but also from NSSF. I know there's a couple of things that you might be wondering, how can we save money with NSSF? We're going to be answering those questions here on this stage. Your savings are very, very important, and a lot of people have been wondering how to get access to them, how to save, when are you eligible. All those things will be answered here. But then also something that I'd love the team from NSSF to shed some more light on is the benefits of actually saving your money with NSSF. If I say it, it will sound like, no, they paid that guy to say it. But I'd love for the team to give us a little more insight on the benefits of actually saving with NSSF. And then for the young people present, why should you invest? Or why should you invest in NSSF and in the outside world? I mean, if you make your money on the side and you've been hustling very hard, you just put it under the mattress, your kawa, right? Right? Who keeps money under the mattress? You smiled, so I think I'm playing. But for young people, I think it's very important for us to invest in a saving culture, that's one. But then also for our savings to help us get into an investment culture as well. And we have so many responses here today. I'll just be reading some that came in online, some of the expectations that came in online. Arnold Semogorere, he's a pharmacy finalist at MUST. And he says he expects to learn about the tools and skills that are critical in the future of work. All right? I see you, Arnold. We have Mark Otim, a finalist at MOBS in marketing, and his expectation is to know what tech knowledge and skills he needs to know to learn to move forward into the job world. We'll be answering some of those questions today and for the next 2 days. We have Justin Quiniera, who's a data scientist, and his expectation is to see the future of employment and work in the rapidly diversifying world. Okay? We have a response here from Mubaraka Chikonyongo. I hope I got your name right. Says he expects to learn how to pitch ideas and gain sponsorship for software products. I think that's very, very key. Everyone has a creative idea and needs some support and needs someone like a big brother to come in and help them push the narrative forward. So we'll be seeing how we can tap into some interesting, intriguing sponsorship packages, right? We also have Abeso Susan. She says, my expectations are to learn more about the available opportunities as an ICT professional other than gambling to make ends meet. Yeah. First, chill sports betting, small. Stay aside. And last but not least, Ratib Saddam, all the way from Arua. He says, I would like to thank the organizers for a very nice and creative program that is basically awakening us from a dark corner that we've all been hiding in. That is Ratib Saddam. Thank you so much, Ratib. So, just to encourage you, by the way, we're going to be doing this for 3 days, but this activity is actually also available online. Of course, we have to respect our SOPs. So you are the lucky ones that come in for the physical experience, but everyone at home can actually access this. There's a link, register on that link, and you can get access to the 3-day Career Expo here at Motive, NSSF Career Expo 2022. And there's 3 words I want us to focus on this year. 3 words. 1, explore. 2, experience. And 3, engage. Can you guys say it with me? 1, explore. 2, experience. 3, engage. Those 3 things I want you to do while you're here. Explore the displays around you. Experience different things. We have virtual reality right up here. And of course, engage. We're going to have so many panelists here. Very many distinguished people from different companies, CEOs, managing directors, who are all going to share their knowledge in the world of technopreneurship. So I'd love for you, when you have a question, you have a burning question, put it down because we will have a Q&A session where you can actually interact with them and ask them those particular questions that you want to ask them. There will be so many, and I wish that when you leave, you've learned from each and every one of them. All right. Also, the NSSF Career Expo is sponsored by the Innovation Village. And of course, a very, very big salute to our MD for Innovation Village in the building. I don't know if she got the. Yeah, maybe she did. Maybe she did. Rachel. All right. But last but not least, would love to also send a special thanks to our fourth sponsor, Absa Bank. Of course, I think they need no introduction. It's all about that what? Africa what? Africa what? Africa what? Yes. So we will have a very, very, very special representative from Absa. And I hope that you guys have some questions ready for him. All right? So I'll encourage DJ Alicia to give us a little musical interlude. By the way, DJ Alicia, she's right up there in the amazing DJ booth right there. I just want you guys to just look at her and just say, "What's up, DJ Alicia? What's up? How you doing? We good? We good?" She's one of the most talented female DJs right now, killing it on different stages. And of course, myself, Timothy Code, I am here for the next 3 days. If you have any questions, you need any assistance, I am here for you. All right? I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here on Friday. If you need any assistance, I'm here for you. If you are too shy to talk to someone, you want to, I'll also be here to help with that. But for now, DJ Alicia, give us some music. And we're about to kickstart with our very first panel for day one of the NSSF Career Expo 2022. Let's go. I love me some DJ Alicia mixes. It's just crazy when she's on the ones and twos. Again, this is day one of the NSSF Career Expo. We're beginning, this is how we kickstart this amazing technopreneurship experience. Now, I need to make a very quick but serious correction. The CEO of Innovation Village is actually Japhet Kawanguzi, who's actually in the building as well. So that's a correction for everyone, if you're taking some notes. All right. Like I said, NSSF Career Expo 2022, proudly brought to you by NSSF, Absa, Motive, and Innovation Village. And joining me from NSSF, here to make our lives better, is the head of marketing and communications of NSSF. Allow me to welcome with a loud round of applause, Barbara Arimi. Thank you so much.
Okay. Wow. I love the energy in the room. Good morning. It's really a pleasure to be here today. I didn't hear good morning. Ah, that's better. That's the kind of, energy I expect from a young crowd. Well, today in the house we have our managing director, Mr. Richard Biarugawa. He's the gentleman right there. We also have the managing director, Absa, Mr. Mumba Kalifungwa. You're welcome. We have the Chief Executive Officer, MTN, represented by the head of HR, Mike Osekade, right there. And finally, our host. I think all of you have really walked around, you've seen the place, you've seen the innovations around, you are already inspired, and that has been made possible by none other than Japhet Kawanguzi. Thank you for having us. Okay, so you're all welcome to the 12th edition of the NSSF Career Expo. This is an annual event that we hold, and majorly because Uganda's population comprises of really mostly young people. We know that over 77% are under the age of 30, and we also know that on an annual basis, we are churning out about 40,000 graduates, but there are possibly about 8,000 jobs, yeah? So that tells you that we need to have this conversation because not everyone will perhaps get a job, but those who don't get jobs can actually create the jobs themselves. So we are here today to discuss all the options. This Career Expo is running for 3 days, and we want to prepare you for the job market so that when you get to pitch for a job, you actually know what to do, how your CV should look like, how you should present yourself, how you should manage your personal brand. All those things we're going to be sharing throughout the 3 days. And we also want to help those who really want to be entrepreneurs to bring to life their ideas so that they can actually know that it's possible to employ yourself and also employ others. Now, with us today, like I said, we already have our panel and they are ready to share with us. Our theme for this year is Technopreneurship, the future of work. And we all know that during the pandemic, we learned to do things differently. You can actually be at home and you can still deliver results. We learned that you can serve your customers, at the fund who are serving customers actually through the call center, but at home. So we learned that we can do things differently, and that is really because technology is now taking a very, very important part in our work life. So that is why we are saying technopreneurship, the future of work, because we feel that is really where the big thing is. And so without further ado, let me invite the next person. Before I do that, let me just quickly run through the program for today. So we'll have the first presentation and that is going to be presented by Japheth Kawanguzi.
Yeah.
And the title is Turning Your... Just a moment. The first presentation will be the idea plus tech. And then the second presentation will be by the MD Absa, and that is turning your idea into a viable business opportunity. And then the third will be by none other than our MD, a disciplined approach to entrepreneurship. And then the last one will be by the CEO of Mtn, who again is represented by the head of HR. And that is going to be technology and entrepreneurship connecting the dots. So now I'll welcome Japheth to take us through the first presentation. Thank you.
Testing. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning.
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 I'm excited to welcome you here to Motive. Mine won't necessarily be a presentation, it will just be to set context, for part of why we're here or part of why we do what we do at the Innovation Village and Motive. And then, of course, to allow our experts in their different fields to also share insights, for you as you look to begin to build your career, and as you begin to look at what does life have to offer for you as a young person. But before I begin, I'd just like to thank NSSF for being dedicated to the youth cause and for religiously organizing these expos. They give very good opportunity for a young person to pick up some insights that they can carry on in their life. I know this because one day I was a young person like them before entrepreneurship turned my beard white. And I remember we went for a career event. We got someone come to our school, and that time I was in senior 6. And they told me I was the best student in economics. I used to love it, economics and entrepreneurship. So they told me that if you're not doing mathematics, forget about doing economics at the university. So my heart was broken. That was the piece of career advice I got then. And I was stubborn then, not anymore. I still went on ahead and applied for economics, got it, and then ended up doing economics at the university. But I can see how those insights at that stage of my life have gone on to shape who I've become now. I'd also like to take this opportunity, to thank other panelists here. I know above here on this panel, we probably have some of the organizations that have the biggest initiatives or programs that are invested in young people. I know, for example, Absa has a work readiness program that they have been running for some time. And we've worked, of course, with Mtn long around innovation and the Open API programs, and some of the startups that we have in our community as a result of some of these initiatives. And of course, NSSF right now is running one of the biggest corporate innovation programs, working with entrepreneurs to enable them build the companies that they need to build to contribute to this country. So as introduced, my name is Sike Japheth, and I started an organization called Innovation Village, which has gotten legs and feet, and it's gone on to grow to become a launch pad for entrepreneurs in this country. And today I was asked, of course, to talk about what do you do when you have an idea, and what does technology mean as far as that idea is concerned. I think for me, we are all born creative. At least every parent or everyone knows that their child is the most creative. You know, I've listened to parents and all of them will explain to you how this son or daughter of mine is ahead of the rest somehow. I think that's what happens when you have an idea. And unfortunately or fortunately, when you get this big idea, all of us, I like to say every entrepreneur I've spoken to feels that they're almost, God's gift to Uganda, that what they're trying to build is going to be responsible for solving, problems. It's probably going to put Absa out of business if it's a fintech. That's the approach we normally have as entrepreneurs. I won't exclude myself. And the excitement of the idea that you get, kind of presents this environment where it's even hard to listen to the basics or advice that someone could have that can potentially help you move from where you are to the next level. And we've also heard consistently that don't share your idea, the idea is going to be stolen. You've heard that? Yeah? It's going to be stolen. But I normally tell people that an idea is not like an apple. If I have an apple and I give you the apple, how many apples will I be left with? Nothing, right? But if I have an idea and I give you the idea, that idea, that's one of the best opportunities for it to actually move to the next level of its growth. So part of the reason we built the Innovation Village is because if you look at globally, we see that technology, entrepreneurship are industries that are driving and growing the world. And if you bring it still at a global level, you'll see that a small country like Israel that has a population of about 9 million people gets more venture capital in a month than the entire Africa. How many people does Africa have?
Almost a billion.
Almost a billion, right? Gets more venture capital than Africa in a full year, right? 1 billion people versus 9 million people. If you bring it further home in Africa, you'll see that, last year I think we hit about $5 billion for entrepreneurs, people like you who have big ideas across the continent. And we saw a big percentage of this capital go to Nairobi, go to Cape Town, go to Lagos and Cairo. And the question we've always asked, and the question we're obsessed with, is if Uganda is the most entrepreneurial country in the world, how come this capital is not coming here? How come our entrepreneurs are not as competitive enough to begin to attract this capital into our own market? And a lot of the work we've since done is to understand what does that look like. So yes, you have people with ideas, but that's not enough. And all of us have ideas, and everybody who has an idea thinks, like I said, they are God's gift to Uganda. So that's how we begin to build around, what does an entrepreneur need to be able to bring this idea to life? What do you need to do now that you have an idea? An idea is just that 1% of what you need. The execution is the 99%. The capital is the other percentage. We're having an interesting conversation with Mr. Mumba, and he was saying, where's the business? People will want to know that the idea you have can actually translate into a business. And people will not want to invest in that school fees of helping you translate that idea into a business. So we also worry about the policy environment, and currently, again, we're partnering with NSSF, MasterCard Foundation, the Private Sector Foundation, and Set Up Uganda to make sure that we have a startup act in the country to enable startups that are beginning to be protected, to see these ideas come to life. You'll need the capital, and when we talk about the capital, we're not necessarily talking about you going to a typical bank. We're looking at the stage capital that you need for the stage where you are, you know, from friends, family. Other people have called them fools, the other F. Someone you tell this idea is going to be the best thing that has ever happened to you, and they invest, you know. And then we are also building an angel investment network where we can, you know, convince high net worth individuals like Richard, you know, to take a bet as individuals in a local idea or a local startup. So we currently have about 60 angel investors, 15 of those are active. So if you have an idea, that's really, you know, the starting point. But unfortunately, it's not the rest of what you need. You know, so I'd just like to leave you with three things that, for me, have informed a lot of the work we've seen with entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs who have succeeded and the entrepreneurs who we see continue to struggle. I think one of the first things you need to go and look out is called the trough of sorrow. The trough of sorrow. What you really go through as an entrepreneur if you're building, you know, something. You hit with an idea for a startup, and you think, normally, I don't know why ideas come to people when they're in the shower. You don't even finish showering, right? And then you run out and you call a best friend and say, you won't believe what I've just come up with, this idea, my friend. One person called me and said, you're going to thank God for this phone call, because this idea has never been done anywhere in sub-Saharan Africa. By the way, there's nothing new under the sun. So even if you have an idea and you come up with a name that you think only you has come up with, just Google it. When we came up with the name Innovation Village, we thought we're the most creative people in the world. And when I Googled, there was an innovation village in Rwanda that had been working. So there's nothing new. So under the trough of sorrow, you're hit with this idea of a startup, and you're really excited. And you know, you walk on the streets, and people look at you, and you look at them, and you say, these guys don't even know who they are dealing with here. They don't know that I'm the next Elon Musk, right? That's the feeling. And then that's at the peak, right? And then things begin happening, and you begin asking yourself questions, and you don't see that what you're trying to do is working. Now, the hardest part of you having an idea is not when other people tell you it's not working. It's when you yourself begin seeing evidence that it's not working. Yeah? And then you begin asking yourself those buts, but this, or but someone else has done it and they're doing it better, you know? And that's when things begin to get really bad. So that's when you begin entering that trough of sorrow, you know, and you begin doubting yourself, and it begins getting hard. Most people give up at that point. That's where you hear that this guy, where is this guy? He was doing this, he has already given up, you know? And then just before you think it can't get any worse, it gets really bad. I like to say, just before you think it can't get any worse, it gets worse, right? Things get really bad. We had, when we just started building the village, we had entrepreneurs who used to sleep in the space like this with the notion that they're working, but because they had no place to go back to. You know, it gets that bad. So, and then eventually you keep at it, you know, NSSF launches a program, you come, you're really passionate, you're pitching, and then you get that initial funding, you grow it, and eventually it works. Now, that trough of sorrow, typically, if you read about the 1,000-day principle, it typically takes 1,000 days, you know. Those are about 3 years. A lot of us come up with an idea, and we're like, tomorrow, I'm closing Absa. this idea is the best thing that has ever happened to this country. You know, you get this self-exaggerated opinion about what you're trying to do. You know, so that takes me to the second component of idea plus tech, and that's the gift of time. You know, you have to be patient across those 1,000 days. You know, there's no escape around how long it actually takes. If you look at Amazon, you know, it will be 17 years loss making until they turn their first profit. If you Google how long it took YouTube, you'll see that for the first 7 years of YouTube, you couldn't even track their performance milestones. You know, they couldn't track the revenue they're making, and then it suddenly took over. So all companies, especially the technology-enabled companies, have that length of time that you cannot shortcut. Just like, you know, it takes 9 months to give birth. You know, it does take time. Today you'll hear everybody singing the praises of a startup like Rocket Health. You've seen the advert on TV where Davis looks so sharp and is proud about what he has built, right? He's just raised, I think, a Series A of about $5 million. It took him 10 years to get to that level. 10 years of trying to build Rocket Health, of changing it up and about. Here, there, right? Another startup called Ensibuco, which is an agriculture technology company, raised their Series A. They raised about $1 million after 6 years. You know, after 6 years. So we underestimate the amount of time it takes as we get started with the ideas that we have. And I think it's the BBC and Bill Gates who talked about how we overestimate what we can achieve in 10 years, in a year, but underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. That's why people set New Year's goals, because you're looking at this year, this year, this year, right? But if I asked anyone here, where were you 10 years ago? 10 years? Primary school? Yeah, so you see, if any of you looks at where you are 10 years back, you know, you are just getting started. Some of you were breastfeeding, yeah? Primary school. But if you're looking at the transformation that has happened over the last 10 years, who you have become, the person you have become, you know, you left home and told people, I'm going for this thing, you know? So we want to achieve it all in that space of, and yet if you break down, if we now begin to approach the next decade with the same patience and dedication and focus, then you'll see the potential of you being able to achieve what you're trying to do. If you don't look at it in just a year, but in that long period of time. And of course, lastly, all of us, when we have this idea and we think we are God's gift to Uganda, the next thing we think we need is the money, you know. And I've found money has many faces. You know, there's grant capital, there's debt, there's other commercial types of capital. But the best type of money I've found you need if you have an idea is the one that's going to come from your customers. You know, the customers are the ultimate investor who will validate what you're trying to do. So I see so many entrepreneurs with good ideas waste a lot of time pursuing money they don't need to be pursuing, money you will never qualify for, because if you're not ready for that cup of your stage, then the money will never come. So you can chase it all you want, but it won't come. So good idea, congratulations, but it's just the start. I think for me, the most important thing when it comes to the money is focus on the value you can create. Focus on the value and who you're creating that value for. In this case, you know, the customer. So by focusing on the value you're creating, the customer validates you. That's the most sure way to achieve growth. but it's also the most sure way for you to attract the capital you need for your idea. So as I conclude, I normally tell entrepreneurs that money doesn't flow to those who need it. As a matter of fact, it runs away from them. Money actually flows to those who create value for it. So the value you're able to create with what you have, with where you are, is going to be the basis for attracting all the capital you then need to be able to grow, to attract more capital. So I'd just like to stop here and, allow the rest of the panelists to go.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Japhet. Sorry for that interruption. I think some of us gave up at the track of sorrow. Because there was a time when I thought I would start an online hardware shop. And like you said, ideas are actually not new, because recently I was reading about someone who a lady who actually runs a hardware store. So I think I gave up too early. So I think the key thing for me is everyone has an idea and you shouldn't give up. Like you said, just start. And I think that's really a very big takeaway. So we want to hear from you. And I want to hand over to the audience. Please feel free to ask a question, make a submission, comment, compliment as well. I always tell my team compliments are welcome as well. So please feel free to really say any of those. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Barbara. So I'm just going to open the floor for quick 2 questions, maybe a comment or a lesson that you've gotten from the CEO of Innovation Village, that's Mr. Japhet Kawanguzi. Personally, the one thing that I've picked from your submission today is money doesn't go to those who need it, it goes to those who create value for it. So that's my takeaway from his submission. But if you have anything you'd love to share, any question you have for Mr. Japhet Kawanguzi, now would be a good time. Anything that you've learned particularly, you can share as well. Any lessons you'd love to share?
I thought the talk about finding value was really important. I see a lot of, I think I see a lot of opportunity for gain and potential in finding value for whatever you're doing. But I just had a question with regards to the angel investment venture, when that might be opening to the public and when you might be ready to hear ideas.
Oh, we have another question here. So, sorry, your name is?
My name is Brian.
Brian. All right. We have a question from Brian. We have a question here as well.
Hello, my name is Samson Were. I remember you talking about when everyone gets an idea, they feel like they're God walking amongst human beings. And this is a problem, I think, with Uganda. Because when you have an idea and share it with someone, they'll help you better form your idea. But we have this as a bias. We think everyone wants to steal our ideas and we have to guard it like it's $1 million thing. So how do we get that mentality out of the entrepreneurs we have so that we feel safe and secure to share our ideas with people so that they can better be improved, and we can also improve our networks to get access to that funding, to get the people who have the skills and the passion to work with you on the ideas. Thank you.
All right, question from Samson here. Can we take one more? Joey has a question.
My name is Joy, the 7th star. I'm a rapper. Yay! I came up with a business myself, trying to be a rap influencer. I rap about a business and give it a platform and make it interesting for the customers. And I usually go out to pitch for my business, and I get people that tell me, oh, I like this, create something for me. Banange, I create. I don't stop because I don't think I am passionate, but I think there is something I'm not doing right. And I would like to know what exact thing that I'm not doing right. I come up I come up with content and deliver. I do deliver, and probably I can me to even make a budget, but they never go through with the budget, and it's heartbreaking. Yeah.
You got talent.
All right, so those are our 3 questions from Brian, from Samson, and from Joy. Over to you.
All right. Thanks for the questions. I think, Brian, the opportunities for angel investment, opportunities for capital are unlimited. Right now, like I said, NSF is running a high innovator program. There's so many opportunities for capital. If you visit the angel investment group that we're building is called Kampala Angel Investors Network. So it's kane.co.ug, and you can go on there and submit as an entrepreneur. It's also the gateway we use to attract angel investors on there. But I must emphasize the fact that it's not the capital. And that's really hard to understand for an entrepreneur. Because as soon as you have an idea, you think, now capital. It's what type of capital, it's what is your readiness level for the capital. And readiness level for capital doesn't depend on the fact that you need the money. Right? You're not ready for it because you need it. Right? That's not what makes you investable. You're ready for it because you've built the right fundamentals for anyone who is willing, who's looking to invest. We have investors who come and they're like, from Nairobi, and they don't want to leave Kampala before they write the check, but they actually struggle to find that readiness level. So a lot of us spend time looking for the capital instead of getting ready for the capital. So I think that's a very important differentiator. And then mentality change is really a difficult one. If anyone has a solution for how you change mindsets of people, I think that's the best idea for a startup, that you just press the button and mindsets change. But one of the experiences I've seen about mindset change is all of us worry a lot about the other person's mindset, and we take it upon ourselves to change the other person's mindset. Instead of really focusing on changing our own mindsets. So my advice is we need to focus on being the example we want to see. We've created spaces like this, and we use spaces like this for people to share ideas, for people to learn from each other. So I think the ultimate solution for me when it comes to how do we change mindsets is first change your own mindset and how you're approaching a particular situation, and then we will begin to influence as many people are out there. So we create spaces for people to share what they're trying to build, how they're trying to build, and then people learn from that. And I know what we need to do to see that tilt is our ability to create success. So the more people we create and able to see success from, this is how I did it, we'll be able to influence other people along the line. And Joy the rapper, I like how I was telling Barbara how careers have changed now. Yeah, I'm a rapper. The only thing I know about rapping is being able to spell the word, and But I think for me, it's what I said already around focus on the value. Sometimes we want to give what we want, but focus on the value and let that value be determined by who you're giving the service to, not how good you think you are. And of course, I like that you rap, which that means it's innate, it's from you, it's you that you're giving to the world. So I think the best piece of advice I can give you is be too good, they can't ignore you, right? Be too good, they can't ignore you, and the market will come to you. It just takes days, the trough of sorrow, you know, a thousand days principle. I normally tell people that if you're getting into entrepreneurship, don't start, you know, but if you've started, don't stop, because then you need to be the example for others, because, you know, your threshold for pain, it's almost death by 1,000 cuts. That's how I describe it. But, you know, don't stop, because you're already there and you're already doing it. Just focus on getting better. The best investment you can have is in yourself. Just be too good, they can't ignore you. And the rest is history. Thank you.
So we can close this session now. We'll take, one more question? Okay, 2 more questions. I wanted to proceed to the next presentation.
Yes. I just wanted to share some of the responses that have come in online. Remember, we're actually streaming live on the different social media platforms and also on Zoom for our audience that is actually tuned in. From Kinyera Justin, he says, this is just an appreciation for Mr. Kawanguzi. Says that there were a lot of inspiring words to us, the youth, and I strongly agree with the figures that for every 3 plans that succeed in a few years, about 5 fail. The gap is so big, and how can we merge this up? And then from Kenneth Mwebaze, his takeaway from the submission was, we overestimate that we can achieve in a year, but underestimate what we can achieve in a decade. With that perspective of a long-term plan, we can achieve incredibly much. Thank you so much, Japheth. We also have Aveso Susan, who says, when do you remodel the ideas, especially at the stage when you begin doubting if it was a good thing to do? That's just a short question there. Rogers Businje says he would like to ask Japheth to, you know, throw some light on the move journey to create value for startups. Mwonge Francis says, how long should one persist in their mind to try and venture into something new? Because it's, you feel persistence alone might not be sufficient, especially if you are persisting that is not right for you. Those are some of the responses that we've received online. But we also have to send this message to everyone who's participating today. Now we're doing a quiz where we'll be giving out some amazing prizes. Some to you, our dear guests and young creatives and entrepreneurs here, but also to our audience online. We'll be giving out amazing prizes, you know, some cool t-shirts, travel mugs, laptop bags from Absa, and of course, some mobile data and airtime. But there's some 2 big prizes we promised that we will give away. Today we're giving away a Bluetooth speaker, JBL Bluetooth speaker. Yeah, you can clap, you can clap. And also at the end, we'll also be giving away a laptop. So at the end of today, we'll be giving away these amazing prizes. All you have to do is participate in the online quiz. And the website is www.joinmyquiz, but quiz with a double Z.com. The website, www.joinmyquiz, quiz with a double Z.com on your phone. All right, when the questions pop up, feel free to answer. I'm just going to hand over back to Barbara in a bit. I'll take the question in the next session. Is that okay? All right, let me hand over back to Barbara on the stage.
Thank you so much. We'll now move on to the next presentation, and we'll be hearing from the Managing Director, Absa.
How do I get this thing on? And can I stand as I speak?
Anything.
Yeah, I'm beginning to doze sitting down, so. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are all excited to be here. And first of all, I'd like to start by thanking our colleagues, NSSF, for putting up this event or this initiative over the last couple of years that they have been running it. Because I do believe it is a very important way as corporates in which we can be relevant in the community, impart ideas, share experiences, share knowledge. And believe you me, the few minutes I spent with first of all, Richard and your corporation, thank you very much for the initiative. It is a great initiative. What I'm passionate about is developing leaders and growing leaders. And when opportunities such as this one present, I jump at them because that's the only way yourself and other leaders in industry can give back to the youth and provide them with a platform to learn from our experiences, and also just realize that we are just human who are occupying these positions of privilege. But what I'll do as I start my presentation is just to give you perspective and a bit of history about the fact that I was once young as well. And there were lessons that I had to pick up that have stayed with me up to now. Japeth, were very well done. I think it's extremely inspiring what you're doing here. And thank you to the other panelists from MTN that have come through today as well. I don't know if I've got the mic set up correctly. Is the voice okay? Right. So, ladies, young ladies and gentlemen, what is today about? For me, at a personal level, I think what I always like to do is bring reality to the situation. And what I'm hoping to achieve today is to share a few thoughts based on personal experiences from a life perspective, association with business. I'm fortunate to have been coming from a family that has run a number of businesses over the years, and there's been a lot of learnings. Others have succeeded, others have failed. But what has happened when they have failed? How has the patriarch or entrepreneur reacted to move forward? So a bit of history. At a personal level, as you know, my name is Mumba Kalifungwa. That's my identity. I am a Zambian by nationality. I come from a family of 4. I'm the firstborn in a family of 4. Why is that important? I took that role of a firstborn very seriously at a very early age in my life. I hated it because my father gave me a lot of responsibilities, be it paying telephone bills, utility bills, water bills, running errands with a car, listening to instructions when he lends you. I started driving at 16. If he lends you his car for you to go and run your errands or play, right? He gave you a deadline. By 6 p.m., it has to be parked. If you reach that deadline, believe you me, the next 2 weekends you won't have a car. There will be consequences. And guess what? I hated that. Because no teenager wants rules of that nature at that stage. Fast forward 20, 30 years later, what has shaped my character? Discipline, hard work, and humility. What do I mean by humility? Humility is about respecting the people around you, the people below you, the people above you, and most importantly, the customer that you pledge to serve. That is extremely important for me because where you have come from shapes where you are going. I gave a brief example to say over a 30-year period, my family has been involved in business ventures, venturing from FMCGs. That business lasted for about 10 years. There was disinvestment. My old man changed focus. He decided to go into politics, couldn't pay attention for the next 10 years to doing politics and business. He focused on that particular venture. So eventually we had to sell that business. As he was doing that, we tried a stint at tourism, ran some sort of tourism consultancy company, selling air tickets and all those things. That ran for about 2-3 years or so, and eventually disinvested, got out of that. Fast forward to now, there is another venture in academics that he has adopted and has been running for the last 10 years. He went into academics, got an MBA at 50, a doctorate at 55, became a professor at, I think, almost 50 or something. But what is the learning from all this process? The ability to reinvent yourself and the ability to continue soldiering on. So for me today, it is about sharing a practical view in terms of what world are you going to venture into. The expo is talking about the future of work. Now, what I would want to expand in that is the future of work, not for you as employees only, but as employers and entrepreneurs. Because if you asked me today that would I have invested 25 years plus of my personal time working for somebody, I'll probably say I would have limited it to 5 years, learn the ropes, understand how businesses run, learn the governance process, get out and go and create an enterprise for me. And that is why I'm inspired for like Jaffe. How do I get the presentation on? Do I just click? There we go. Right, so the first slide, I am quoting a gentleman called Strive Masiwa. For you, those of you who follow business enterprise on the continent and on the globe, you know this gentleman. He owns he's into telecoms. He has invested, started in Zimbabwe. He's ventured into other markets on the continent. He's big in telecoms in most markets that he operates in. And there's a quote from him. He says, "The opportunity is in the problem. The moment I see a problem, I immediately begin to think about the opportunity that can be created by solving it." You remember what Japheth said earlier on. Business should be about creating value. What value are you bringing to the table? The young lady talked about being a rap influencer, right? Yeah, rapfluencer, that's the term. Interesting term. So today I've learned rapfluencer. I've learned about ghost kitchens. Do you know what a ghost kitchen is? I learned that today. But that speaks to the changes and innovations that people are coming up with on a daily basis. So for so long as you are trying to solve for something, that is a business. That is what Strive is quoting there. I'm hoping that with the few minutes that we have with each other, I'll be able to share with you the need or some thoughts on what I believe it takes to run a successful business. Remember, these are my thoughts based on my personal business experience, personal family experience. But typically, for those that have succeeded, these are some of the general principles that I believe you should be willing to adopt. Another of the things, I think there's, Japheth talked in detail about thinking about raising capital and things like that, and I will speak to that very briefly, and then as I conclude with some of the takeaways that I believe you need to adopt as people who want to grow in the future, maybe as employees, maybe as entrepreneurs, and maybe as employers. So, why is it important? And this circles back to the earlier point to say, I've had this business, I've been rapping for so long, I've made so many pitches. You need to soul search and ask yourself to say, first of all, you need to be clear. What am I trying to solve for? Right? What am I trying to solve for? That's number one. Number two, what is required, or what is the product that people want from me that will solve a particular problem? Yeah? So knowledge of the business that you're doing is very critical. I'm a rapper. I want to be a rapper so that I can make creative content that I can sell to FMCGs, I can sell to insurance companies, I can sell to banks. Okay? That is your understanding. That is the product that you have. Sizing up, you guys are from university and the like, it's basically doing a SWOT analysis, understanding the environment in which you are working. Who are your customers? What is their need? What are the threats? What are the risks and opportunities done or that are experienced with dealing with this particular kind of customers? Why am I not selling? Who am I targeting? Where am I marketing my products? Right? If you want to sell digital content, who are the people that are interested in digital content? Is marketers. What work have you done in identifying what are the top 20 or top 30 companies that are in FMCG or in banking or insurance? Who are their marketing personnel? Today, there are two marketing that you'll meet. Barbara is here. Helen from Absa is there. And there are more at the back. I've got Robin there and Billy, who's heading our digital marketing department. Have conversations with people and say, guys, do you have a need for the services that I offer? If you don't, do you know anybody who has a need for these services? So the arena and the environment in which you are working or where the business opportunity lies is very important. And you need to be able to harness those particular networks. If you go through your network of people that you know, there will be one person who knows a marketing person. And that one marketing person belongs to a network of other marketing professionals. They need to know that you exist. I can't buy something I don't know that exists. What are you doing using technology to sell your content? Days, I think my kids spend so much time on TikTok and Instagram, things that, you know, I'm like, guys, where's the time? Where's the value in that? I'm still a Facebook person, so the only thing I see is those, what do you call them, the feeds. Yeah, somebody does a feed of something that they're doing. But you also need to look at all those spectrums to say, how can I market my product using the various digital channels that are available? I think upskilling, I won't spend too much time around that, but upskilling is about having the relevant skills to deliver a content. I'm a rapper. What skills do I have? I've got rapping skills. What skills don't I have? I probably don't have selling skills. What do I need to do to develop those selling skills? I probably need to speak to a friend of mine who specialized in marketing. I need to speak to that uncle who is in marketing. You need to deliver this particular service or product that I am trying to, and look at various options of how you can actually acquire those skills. Very important. So once you have a business, one of the critical elements, I'm not biased because I come from a finance background, but when you're running a business, it's got to make sense. You're providing value to people, and you should also be receiving value. It should give you the ability to meet the basic needs in life and, you know, splurge once in a while, right? It's got to make sense. Yeah? It has got to make sense. And for you to establish or understand how well your business is doing, you have to have the basic understanding of financials. As they say, numbers, numbers, numbers. Financial statements. At the most basic level, you should be earning more than you are spending. Right? So that the difference is what is called your profit, from which you can pay yourself a certain percentage as a dividend, maybe 10%, the balance you keep in the business to reinvest and grow your business before you have scale. Those are the basics in terms of why I believe it is important to have financial acumen. And again, like I said in the previous slide, if you don't have the skill to interpret numbers, you went to varsity with a guy who's specialized in finance. And that's also another opportunity for that colleague, before they get into form of employment, to provide you with some sort of consultancy at a concessional rate, of course, for startups. But when you develop scale, they need to up the fee note as well, because they need to start benefiting from, as they are giving you value, giving them value. There should be cross-pollination of ideas and wealth. That is the importance of the numbers. So as a basic, earn more than you consume. And that is what will give your business scale. And if you have to look at your financial position, you should say, I should own more than I owe. The assets, the cash, the stocks, the content that you have should be more than the money you owe the bank or you borrowed from a family, from a circle, and things like that. So having this financial acumen is extremely important. Whether you're in telecoms, you're in medicine, you're a lawyer, you can't run away from it, because at the end of the day, it will be like spitting against the wind without realizing how to clean your face. Raising capital, Japhet, I think when he spoke about various options. And I think when you come from the bank, people ask you the obvious question, what are you doing to support startups? What are you doing to support the youth and things like that? So if the question comes up, I will answer it. But to preempt that, I think there's a lot we need to think about as an institution, not only as Absa, but everybody in industry and commerce. What can we do to contribute towards building or fueling or accelerating the growth of young entrepreneurs? And for me, I think, like I said at the beginning, one of the things we need to change, mindset change or mindset shift, starts with the person. What do you want to change about the way you think? You talk about when you tell people they're negative about it, challenge it. You'll find, within your network, there will be somebody who will be able to think almost alike with you. And I'll talk to that as I conclude in terms of the various options or thoughts of things that you can consider in terms of building your networks and partnerships. Approaching investors, I think this is a given, and coincidentally, Japhet gave an example of Dr. Musinguzi, Rocket Health, who says people always bet on you as an individual before they invest in your business idea. Invest in yourself, build your credibility, and know the intricate details of your business. Guess what? Davis and I haven't spoken. Remember my first slide? Understand and know the product or the business that you're going to offer to people, because that is key. You can't sell what you don't know, and you can't run what you don't understand. That's a given. You need to do that. Approaching investors, I think one important aspect that you need to pick up, having gone through varsity, having gone through college, is building a network. You need to identify those people that have got potential. Your circle of friends, if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, should be people who are driven, people who have vision, and not people who think about the next blankets and wine event. Yeah? It's okay to do that, but it should be productivity. People think productive. They should be progressive. If you're a progressive person, hang out with people who think progressively. Because within that network of friends, you'll be able to develop ideas that you can collectively begin to drive together and say, how can we move forward and grow this idea from a mole into a mountain? Yeah? Those are some of the important things when it comes to approaching investors, because the investors can be amongst you. Each of you takes the 10,000 shillings that you have, puts it together. You are 20 of you. All of a sudden, you have 200,000 or 2 million shillings. What can you do, buy and sell from 2 million shillings? They need outside Kampala of a certain product that you find here that they don't find, just in Ginger or something, right? All those are things that you need to think about. Understanding of the business, I won't focus on that. I think in terms of how you present yourself, depending on what you're selling, if I'm into IT and everything, I can be in jeans and a t-shirt, but how people perceive you, the impression you create when you speak to them, I think is a very important aspect. I was saying earlier, had I known, Ellen should have told me I was going to come appropriately dressed in my jeans and t-shirts as well, so that I can relate to the dress code of the audience. Knowing the people that you are getting as investors in your business, I think that is key as you think of scaling up. What Japhet is doing here is an amazing thing, and these are one of the avenues, and I think a question was targeted to him to say, when is the next cohort being opened around that? Finally, as I conclude, one of the ways in which we are, as Absa, trying to contribute towards readying young people for the job market, for the entrepreneur market, is by offering an free online program. All you have to say is ready to work at Absa Africa, and it will come on. And it provides 4 key modules. What are those modules talking about? They're talking about work skills. They're talking about money skills. I'm sure all of you want to know money skills first before the work skills, right? Then people skills and entrepreneur skills. So when you go online, under each of these modules, when you have read them, their practice assessments and everything, and then you get a small certificate that confirms that you have gone through this. This is part of our contribution as a way of supporting the community, a way of supporting education and skills development, which is one of our key pillars on our citizenship agenda. And it's absolutely free. Absolutely free. So take time to visit this website. Go in there. The skills that I've spoken to, people skills. You can't sell a product if you don't have social skills. You can't sell products, communicate. Yeah? You need to be able to do all these things. And I think predominantly over the years, it's only in the last, say, 10, 15 years where people have started focusing on things we call soft skills, right? Before, it was the hard tech skills, number crunching, statistics, CAPM models, and all those things. Those were the hard things people were learning. But guess what? That doesn't make you a whole person as a business person. That doesn't make you a whole person as an employee. You need to complement the soft or the hard skills with the soft skills. The hard stuff is what you're doing last couple of years in uni. So take this aspect of soft skills. Some of us started learning about soft skills in the workplace. There was no content whilst doing our tertiary training that spoke to soft skills. But over the years, it has become quite critical. And that is why these days, in addition to the IQ, EQ, they're now talking about SQ, EQ, social quotient, adaptability quotient. Those are the soft skills that you need to be investing in developing yourselves. So, colleagues, free content, apps are ready to work. It's there for you to utilize and help develop yourselves. As I conclude, my concluding remarks, number one, if you're going to manage a business, you need to understand the business, the marketplace, the customers, and the processes to run it. Because if you don't know that, then you're wasting your time. Number two, the skills. I spoke a lot about the skills. Work, money, people, enterprise, and tech skills. We are living in a tech age. How can you use technology to promote your business? That Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I'm told Facebook is for old people like me. But look at the media that is relevant to the people. That is connecting with your potential customers. If you are using the right medium to communicate to your potential customers, believe it or not, it will eventually come. It's not, they say Rome wasn't built. It is a process that you need to work through. You need to develop resilience and keep on trying until it happens. There is a rapper who says, what's his name? 50 Cents. You would know 50 Cents, right? He says, get rich or die trying. Yeah? Get rich or die trying. What is he saying? Persevere. Keep trying until it works. Keep reinventing yourself until it works. And innovate with the changing times. I think I've spoken about that. Think partnerships. Think partnerships. I'm not being racist or anything, but if there are people that get the partnership rights, is our Asian folks. Have you ever noticed how one Asian will fly into Uganda and start a business connected by a guy who is already in business? Maybe it's a hardware store. Believe you me, within the next 2-3 years, that fellow who has been flown in from Asia will also have started a hardware I've gone to school with that have similar ideas as yours, as I said, that are driven. Network with those. Network with people who are able to add value to your life and not people who just think of things that are destructive on a daily basis. Finally, most importantly, go through the process of learning and unlearning. Learning, and unlearning. Climbing the or a tree always starts from the bottom. Going through that journey, success and can ensure that you develop the right resilience, the right knowledge, and capabilities to discharge your business objectives. And finally, and not only, there's a quote, it's a spiritual quote, and no offense to non-Christians. It says, not only so, but we should also glory in suffering. Because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. Ladies and gentlemen, or young ladies and gentlemen, I am hoping that the last 10-15 minutes we've had together has provided you with some content or input to provoke your thoughts. Like I said, it is not the Bible, or it's not a biblical concept or document, but it is thoughts based on my life experiences as an ordinary person, as a business person, and as an employee. I thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to engage.
Thank you so much. Wow. Discipline, hard work, and humility, combined with all the other lessons that he has shared. So I would like us just to take one question from the audience, and then we'll get a comment from the online audience, and then we'll delve into the next presentation in the interest of time.
Of course,
but
of course.
We'll take the rest of the questions later.
I just want to say a special thank you to the Managing Director of Absa, Mr. Mumba Kalifungwa. One more time, a round of applause. Amongst the many things that he has submitted today, two things that I've learned: the spider web theory of how to make the most of your intimate inner circle. And then also too, I learned that he listens to 50 Cent. So I was heavily surprised by that one, just saying. But I'm just going to run through some of the online submissions that we've come through. We have Samogere Arnold who says, thank you, Mr. Mumba. And he requests to know how to go about keeping up to date with the different sections of a team that you lead, and also hiring an excellent team. Another submission that came in online from Helena Nensima says, does Absa Bank have products for investing in upcoming entrepreneurs? And she also goes further to ask, if Absa Bank has loan packages for entrepreneurs, what kind of securities are involved? Because a young person sometimes might lack the securities needed, like land and other assets. That's some of the responses that came in online. Let's take one question from the physical audience here today. Yes, sir, here in the back. Let me just come to you. There you go. Give us your name and your question.
Thank you. My name is Peter Maswi. I'm from Tanzania. Just before I go to my question, I want to thank you for the nice presentation. You added some value to what I came here, I expected to learn. In 2018, I ventured into, let me learn about social entrepreneurship, and enrolled in an academy by Startup Africa. There I studied at KIU. So it changed my mind completely. In 2020, when I was making my resolution, I changed my perception not to do 1 year resolution. I said to myself, what can I do maybe in 10 or 20 years? And I changed my perception that I want to go for long run, and I made my resolution of 20 years, from 2020 to 2040. And I say, what can I impact the community around me? I came across the quote of Abraham Lincoln, if I get 6 years to chop a tree, I will spend 4 hours sharpen my saw. So, because of COVID, I had to let me go and learn and start to practice what I learned. And I said myself, what I need to do is to impact, starting from the young children, to teach them with the digital skills. So my idea was to empower young kids from primary school and secondary schools with the digital skills. And as I did my research, I find that kids love to learn in practice. So in my idea, while I'm learning, I'm mobilizing my own funds. By the end of this year, I'll be ordering my VR gadgets so that I use to teach kids. I also volunteered in schools to learn how. So I teach kids in order to learn how they understand stuff, so that I start to implement. I also enrolled on Monday, I started the online training from Tony Romero Foundation in order to cater myself with knowledge and skills. When I implement my idea, it's easier. So back to you, the manager of Absa. Thank you for the presentation. I want to ask from you, what's the best way to mobilize our partners and teams of like-minded people in order to implement your idea? Thank you.
Just a correction, there is a managing director of Absa. All right, back to you, Barbara, on the stage.
Thank you. Would you like to respond to the questions?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Very quickly. So the one that asked the question, how do you keep in touch with your team and hire good people? I want to answer that because it might be a competitor. But the general principle when hiring people is hire people who have got skills and capabilities that are equal or better to yours. As simple as that. and they have to be subject matter experts in their field. So if I employ an accountant, he's got to be the best accountant in the field from my perspective. I employ a marketer, they've got to be the person that I believe is the best marketer in the field. So those are the general thought processes. Do you finance startups? The answer to that is no. Do we indirectly finance institutions that probably finance startups? And the answer to that would be yes. So startups come with their own dynamics. So right now, we haven't designed any particular product that we use or look at to finance startups. But one of the takeaways that we have with the team is to see whether under our education and skills development program, if there are any thoughts we can come up in terms of ideas of how we can support the growth of young enterprise. So that's the answer to that question. My colleague there, who best way to mobilize, colleagues that have similar, I think, understanding your social networks. If your colleague or the colleagues that you are socializing with are always talking about things that involve with, having a good time, things that are not value adding, at that point, you need to have standards to say, these are the people. They say success attracts success. If you are progressive in thinking, attract or associate yourself with people who are progressive in thinking, and not those that are retrogressive. As they say, as you go up the chain, sometimes you even hive off those people who destroy value. You need just to, your circle of friends should change. It should be associated with people who share similar values, similar principles, and a similar vision to yourself. I think that's what I would comment around that.
Wow. I am learning. I'm very lucky to be in this audience, or rather on this panel. And I'm really learning as well. Learning never ceases. And I think you said something very powerful about reinventing yourself and adapting to the changing circumstances. And I like the fact that your father actually, even by 70, he was still shares.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Are you working? Are you working? Are you not working?
Richard's microphone is not working. Can we turn it on?
Is it on the mic?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
It won't work?
So we'll use this one. I also have a PowerPoint, but I'll take mine on the ground rather than in the air. So we've been doing this for the last 12 years, you said? Barbara, how long have we been doing the Career Expo? 12 years. So we've been doing this for 12 years. We are very excited that we are back. 12 years ago, we started small, and now we are really big. We started off with, I think, 1 or 2 universities. So 300,000 students, I'm told, we've been able to impact on this Career Expo, which is great. I mean, we now have all these people coming in, and hopefully, the people on this, the people who are coming to this Career Expo will definitely, you like that analogy. We'll talk about your mindset. Is it that of growth, or is it that of static? We are going to talk about what NSSF is doing with respect to our sustainability agenda. And we'll also talk about how far we've gone in delivering that sustainability agenda, which is largely around innovation and giving you tools as people who are coming to the market to be able to then find a job or create your own industry. And then I'll call you to action. What can you do going forward from what I've been able to present? So let's take you into the future. I'm sure all of you who've been watching movies know which one this one is. Back to the Future. Who is this handsome man? I don't know if you've seen him. Can I have a few? Does anybody know? Anybody in the audience? Do you know who this guy is? Hint. Yes? Who? No? Any other guess? Google him. Nikolai Contratif, all right, is Russian. A little bit. So does anybody know him? He's an economist, was an economist. He left a couple of theories. It's a very good history. Go and study about it. Because this man, unfortunately, was killed by Stalin for no reason. The fact that he came up with scientific evidence which suggested that communism would fail. And the truth of the matter is, he ran models which proved that communism would fail, and sure enough, in the 80s, turn of the century into the 90s, communism did fail. They're trying to revive it, but not in the process that they used to. Even in China, it failed. So he was a very, very clever man. But he came up with something else, very important for us. He came up with what was known as the Contratif Wave. It is a wave of innovation. It shows that things happen between 30 and 60 years, and that things change. We are living through those changes. Each wave happens because of a barrier that has been broken. The barriers are normally broken out of innovation. You guys are living in an era, as I said 2-3 years ago, you are living in very interesting times. Your times are really, really very good because it is, you can see day by day. I mean, look at the transaction that Elon Musk did last week about taking over Twitter, okay? Look at how he's been able to amass his wealth by coming up with a company called Tesla, which I'll talk a little bit later about. It is all about disruption. It's about the things that you would not have imagined. Look at the power of cryptocurrencies taking over the currency that we know. Look at COVID taking over the world, and we are powerless and able to respond to it and end up in our homes doing all the things that we want to do. It is that barrier of innovation that I believe we are living through. So if you look at what has happened to the world from 1830 up to present, you notice that there have been 6 waves. The first wave was around the textile industry. And you'll notice that that barrier was then broken, and then we had roads. Roads improving the world of communication and interaction and building things. Then electricity, and then mobility, ICT, and we don't know what wave we are going through today. You'll also notice that all these waves were going through some sort of depression. So you have the panic of 1837, you've got the long depression of 1873 to 1879, you've got the Great Depression of the 1929 to 1935, you've got the first and the second oil crises of 1974 and 1980, and then you had this financial crisis of the 2008 when the whole markets crashed. And we believe that we are going through the next wave, and we call that the intelligent tech wave, unfortunately. So the new losers will be some of the old practices. I used to tell people in the office that gone are the hierarchical offices. Today, if your company has 7-8 layers, you are dead meat. You need to flatten your organization. You need to go into those new trends that are driving production. You need to look at those new trends that are driving businesses. You need to look at those new jobs, the gig jobs, where you are not aligned to a business. You basically have to work in a company for a very short time as a gig and move on, or work with your own company, provide an answer and a solution. There are new investment opportunities. Governments have changed. Many jobs are going to be lost, but we know that there will be new jobs and new opportunities that will be created as a result of what is happening today. So as students, you need to pay attention to history. Need to ride those waves. Don't ignore them. Don't ignore your history, because unfortunately history has that horrible thing of saying history repeats itself. So as students, look out for the history and see how you can deal with it. So the biggest lessons for you today to take home is that disruption is now the new normal. Don't be assured that disruption will come back, will go away. No one is guaranteed of safe passage. Just remember that. But also deal with it and be adaptive and resilient. I think both Japhet and Mr. Absa said it, that you have to be resilient, you have to be adaptive to the conditions. And that's what you need to do. So, it's working? Okay, great. So, the two mindsets, just to remind you, you can afford to have the fixed mindset, which is your intelligence is static, i.e. you've got books, you got a first class, you think you have brains, but you could also have a growth mindset, which is that you can evolve, you can develop your intelligence, you can be open-minded, you are always open to new ideas, you're always adaptive, you're always able to go back and become flexible. You can adapt, be resilient. That's what the growth mindset is all about. Because in this world you're entering in, the fixed mindset is static and it's fixed. Yet Tesla, which is a very good company today, doesn't give a damn about your first class. At the fund, I've got news for you. We are no longer hiring you because you got a good first degree. We are hiring you if you got the good experience. I know a couple of tech guys we've hired to write code who have never gone to university. We've got a couple of guys we've hired in our marketing and design department who have never gone to university, but they've got very good skills. So guys, your first class is no longer that important because nobody gives a damn. And Tesla started, we are already adapting it even in our country here. So, Tesla will be looking for you if you are hungry to learn. And therefore, you should be able to embrace challenges. You should be able to persist in the face of setbacks. You should be able to focus on the path of mastery that I talked about. You must be able to learn from criticism. You must be flexible. You must be able to find the lessons in success of the others so that you use those in looking at how you're going to develop your own career. In looking at how you're going to develop your own career. This gentleman has been given a lot as an example. Start to think like him, Davis. He's been resilient. He's taken a long time. It did not happen in one day. You've seen in the advert, loads of doors were closed. So begin to think like him. Don't give up. Because that's the only way you can be resilient. And that's the only way that the future of young people holds much promise. However, not enough has been done to harness this potential. So, we as NSSF, we are creating a deliberate youth strategy around SDG number 8, which as you can see there is social work and economic growth. That is the SDG we are going at the NSSF to ensure that we really give an opportunity to young people as a strategy to be able to improve them, especially when they come out of university. So we have two programs. The first one is our High Innovator, which I'm going to talk about a little. And the second one is around our financial literacy. We believe that everybody in Uganda needs financial literacy. You know how to manage money. You know how to earn money. You know how to spend money. You know how to invest. You know how to save. We want everybody in Uganda to be able to do that because we believe it's a God-given right. It is part of your SDG goal that we believe everybody needs. That's why financial literacy is all about it. So what is our sustainable agenda? So let's start off with the High Innovator. It is our flagship sustainable program, and in conjunction with MasterCard, our purpose is to make sure that we get at least 500 startups getting seed capital. Number two, we want to make sure that at least 100 startups are scaled. We want to ensure that at least 132,000 jobs are created with a deliberate effort targeting 70% participation from the women. And we want to make sure that we invest at least $10 million within a period of 5 years for this program. We are looking to support small businesses that will have potential to scale and bring new growth opportunities for Uganda. Of course, we are selfish. This means that if we can get these companies, they will be able to contribute to NSSF. But we'd also know that it will be paying back to our young people so that they can become sustainable in the jobs that are created. The other thing that we are doing is that making sure that we help these entrepreneurs to grow. So the first part of this program is to make sure that they learn. So they go online. We have a learning platform which targets youth-owned businesses so that they can learn how to manage those businesses. Number two, once they've learned and they've got all the skills, then we can select those businesses which are promising and we give them seed funding up to $30,000. And then once they have got up and running, we will connect them with accelerator financing through the banks or through other funders who will have now seen that the experiment, the pilot you've been doing as a business is able to grow, and therefore they can scale it and help you to scale it. So that's what our High Innovator program is all about. This is exactly where we've been. Those are the learning platform. So far, even after being struck by COVID, we've been able to get 890 applications, of which we've had 1,481 learners. And unfortunately for us, the ladies are still few, just only 28%, and males still dominate at almost 72%. So what are we saying? Women are still not stepping forward. You are missing out. Money is not the biggest challenge. I think Japhet mentioned it. Mr. Mumba also mentioned it. Money is not the problem. The idea is the problem. Access to business services is the big problem. You need those services to be able to develop your business. And we believe that learning needs to be tailored so that it's linked to your entrepreneurial needs. So please join the platform so that you can see how you can learn how to run a business, but also contribute to making sure that the material and the content is good for the other learners. So, the other program that I talked about is our financial literacy program, which we've now been running for 3 years. It's a comprehensive program, and guess what? For us, many graduates want to start a business, but they suffer from the same challenges which we've also seen in the High Innovator data. So although they are graduating with it, they want to start a business, they still are suffering from the fact that they don't have the business idea, they have not been able to develop it before then looking for the financing. So we are therefore remodeling our sustainability strategy to be able to achieve the following goals. One, we want to make sure that we scale the learning opportunities. So at the moment, we are working on the NSSF Business Academy, which is going to incorporate our financial learning program. Number two, we are going to have affordable enterprise support systems, and that is through a business development support facility that we've created. And number three, we are creating a diverse funding ecosystem so that it is able to help people to commercialize their pilots that they would have tested. And our success will be judged by the fact that we will have 132 opportunities for young Ugandans within the next 10 years. So you remember, Japhet, the 10-year period. We hope that by 2032, we will have at least 132,000 Ugandans who will have come through this program to say that they've been very, very successful. So, just to share with you some of the numbers we've already seen since the launch, 2021 in May. Our achievement over the 1 year were that we needed to onboard at least 12 enterprises to support. So far, we've been able to onboard 7 out of a 12 target. We've been able to onboard 3,600 learners from over 100 districts in Uganda. That's a 36%. We've been able to avail at least 27 businesses for seed capital. We had a target of at least 100. And we had been looking for at least 3 financial partners. So far we have UDB Bank and Absa Finance, and I hope Absa will join us soon. Hopefully, so that the financial partners can help us in funding these programs. And so far, we've been able to disburse seed value of 2.4 million out of 4 million for seed valuing. And that percentage is not 7, it's slightly more than 7%, almost 50%. So that is where we are with our programs, and we hope that today, those of you who are graduating from your universities will look at our program and join us, hopefully to make Uganda better. So what is my call to action for you today? Register, please, for our financial literacy. Janet Financial Freedom, sign up. And secondly, if you have a passion for entrepreneurship, register to join our High Innovator via the New Business Academy. And if you are an entrepreneur with big dreams, we want you on board because we've got ambitious targets which we'd like you to fulfill. Thank you so much for listening to me. I would like to end up with a quote from Winston Churchill, which is, "Success is not final, but failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Thank you so much for listening to me.
You too.
Thank you so much, Richard. I think you've all seen the opportunities that are available. You've heard of the High Innovator if you need seed capital. He has said $10 million. That's going at today's rate, which is about 3,540, 3,525. How much is that? Billions of shillings available as seed capital. I think people should really take advantage of the opportunities available. And also the financial literacy program. And Mr. Mumba talked about the 4 modules that Absa has availed. So you're spoiled for choice. If you want to learn skills, Absa is teaching you work skills, money skills, people skills, entrepreneurship skills. If you want to learn more about financial literacy, NSSF is available. If you want seed capital for your business, NSSF is also available together with MasterCard. So the opportunities are immense. So you really can't say, I failed. At least there is hope along the journey. There are partners that you were talking about, people to help you along this journey of yours. Now quickly, just 2 questions. You give us feedback online and 1 question from the audience.
All right.
Just keep your question short. Just introduce yourself and kindly ask the question. We'll have time for networking and then you'll tell us what you do. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Barbara. I wanted to thank again, a round of applause for the Managing Director of NSSF, Mr. Richard Byarugaba. And of course, NSSF, the title sponsor and lead for the annual NSSF Career Expo 2022. Now, I have a lot of online responses that came in. Just personally, I picked 2 lessons from you, saying that disruption is the new normal. After the pandemic, we need to get used to changing on our feet. And then the second one is understanding the history of work. As the theme is for this year, Technopreneurship, the future of work, it's also very important for us to understand the history of work, because today is actually yesterday's future. So we need to understand the history of work to know where we're actually using technology to take us into the future. 2 points that I picked from Mr. Richard. Now let's share some of the online responses that came in. We have Arnold Semogedede, who says, Mr. Byarugaba is a terrific speaker. Thank you for the great presentation. I would like to know how, if I opened an account with NSSF and committed 100,000 shillings per month based on my pocket, What type of returns does NSSF give me? And then we have another response here from Amanda. Says she's a co-founder of WAPE, a digital talent marketplace, and says that they're looking for some funding with High Innovator and should love to know more information and particulars of getting that from the High Innovator program. And then Arnold again says, how does NSSF assess talent before they hire? And how does a founder go about convincing investors, for example, on these digital platforms like YouTube and WhatsApp, they don't have a clear monetization plan at the start of the company? I have a response here from Irene Chomohanji. She says, thank you, Mr. Richard Biarugaba, for such an amazing presentation. You never disappoint. Kudos. Kudos to you, sir. We have Helena Nensima, who also says, kindly enlighten one on how one can open a voluntary NSSF account where it is individual saving. So we have responses there for individual saving, the voluntary NSSF account. We have a question about convincing investors to tap into young startups that might not have clear monetization plans at the beginning of the business. We have an inquiry about the High Innovator project. And then we also have the process of opening an account with NSSF. And I think that's important information for all of us to take home today, because like NSSF says, they're all about a better life. And last but not least, Triumph Champe wants to get some advice from you on starting up a company in regards to pricing strategies. Those are some of the responses that we got online. Let me take two from the floor. I have Bright here and I have one there.
Sorry, advice on what? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Triumph Chanpe says, how would you advise a person starting up a business in regards to pricing strategies?
Pricing?
Yes. All right. Briefly, Bright and the gentleman here, just your name and your question.
Yes, good morning. My name is Bright Pitia from Uganda Christian University. I'm a business scholar, and this Mr. Biarugaba's presentation has really come timely. So my question is, you talked about the startup capital, that in case I have the idea and I really want to translate it into, so where am I going to get the capital, and to what interest is it, and then also what are the requirements? And because I'm very sure right now when you look at the banks, their interest rates are, on our levels, they really seem high, because you look at 12%, 15%, that's really big. So are the interest rates that NSSF is giving, are they below that or otherwise? So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. To the gentleman here, your name and your question.
Thank you so much. I'm Gerald. Mr. Biarugaba, thank you so much for that very insightful presentation. My question, focusing on the intelligent tech wave, like you said, let's talk about adaptability. The future, there is this famous quote by William Gibson, who once said that the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. An idea that which profoundly links to the slow evolution of mass adoption to what we are seeing in the world today. So my question to you is, how can the human innate quality to adapt be freed up, especially in Africa? Thank you so much.
Sorry, the human what?
How can the human innate quality to adapt, how can the quality to adapt?
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Be freed up in Africa. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, thank you.
So can I deal with those?
Yes.
Okay, so there was a question on return. No investor, no fund manager ever gives, never gives an assurance, or I'm looking for the other word, a guaranteed return for investment. However, most investment of fund managers will ask you to look at the history of performance of the fund you want to invest in to be able to establish what the returns might be in the future. Having said that, there is also a notice that we put on our statements as fund managers that we will not guarantee, the performance of the fund in the past will not guarantee the performance of the fund in the future. But having said all that, the gentleman who asked about return, if they invest with NSSF, we have, over the last 10 years, given a double-digit return. We've given a high of 15%, and we've given a low of about 10.15%. But those are all double-digit returns. So if I were you, I would basically look at how we've performed in the past and perhaps begin to estimate what we might be able to perform in the future. That being said, there is a small little problem called midterm access that you all know about, that those of you who are in school might not know about because you haven't been contributing to NSSF. But those who are old enough and are contributing to NSSF know that we started paying out midterm access in March of this year. And as a result of that, we had huge payouts. And as I've been telling everybody, that could affect our investment returns this financial year because we had to change our investment strategy in order to make those payouts. Voluntary account, very easy. Please go to our website or go to any of our branches. We've got a couple in Kampala. We've got a couple around the country. You should be able to open a voluntary account within a few seconds of entering in there. In fact, you can do it over your phone as well. If you do have your NIN, please go to our website or go to your phone. You should be able to use your NIN to open an account for voluntary contributions. There was a couple of questions around how do you get onto the High Innovator. We've got a website. Please get onto there. There are two things you could do on there. The first one, as I said, is you can go there to learn. There is a whole academy we are creating for you to be able to improve on your business management skills. But secondly, if you are an entrepreneur or thinking of becoming an entrepreneur and you'd like to get involved in the High Innovator challenges, we normally run these challenges over a couple of periods. So basically we call out for people to bid for competing, for coming up with brilliant ideas. We then have a panel of eminent judges who look at your idea. Japhet might actually be part of it. And together with Japhet and a couple of other people, we then figure out whether your idea and your enterprise is good enough. First of all, to be piloted. We fund the piloting. That's the $30,000 I spoke about. So those $30,000 will help. And we are now very sure that that idea is great and it needs to be scaled up. You now need what they call patient capital. So patient capital is not money from the bank. I think you heard from Mr. Mumba. He said Absa does not have money or does not lend you money because it's very risky to lend you money if you're starting up. However, there is what they call private equity or even angel investors or venture capitalists. It's that sort of patient capital, which is money they put in your business and they become shareholders in your business. And those are some of the things you need quite to understand because you do not pay interest. Basically, you share the risks of the business. So you allow this person to become a shareholder in your business and you then begin to work in tandem with them because they are now part owners and therefore you pay them back through dividends. So if you make money through dividends, you can then pay them back. So it is not about paying them interest, it's about paying them a dividend And if they want to exit your business, which they will at some stage, then you would have to either buy them back, or they might do so, exit through listing the company on the stock exchange, which is another way of saying that you've now got your value out of the business, but you'd now like to share that value with the rest of the market, and therefore you go out into the market and you look for other investors through the stock exchange. The last question was around the pricing strategies. There are many pricing strategies. If you've gone to an MBA class, you probably know that. But you can price to scheme the market. In other words, go in at a lower rate in order to gain market share. You can price at a premium so that you only allow people to buy your stuff, those who see the value in there, but you must be able to give value to them. You can also use other strategies to be able to attract customers in terms of pricing. Or you could use a combination of those two. Segment your products. Make sure that the ones which are in the mass market, where you can offer a low price for them and they sell quite quickly, you want them to go quickly. So you price that in the low part of the market. Or you can price, as I said, on the premium side, where you are giving value to them. But it's also important to look at what your competitors are doing in whatever segment that you're working in, because you don't want to price yourself out of the market. So a couple of pricing strategies, but certainly if you're a startup, which is what I really think you should be doing, then you should be able to price yourself so that you can give yourself an advantage to be able to gain market share. And presumably that would be a price which allows you to allow people to come in to enjoy your product. So you price out the competition, allow people to enjoy your product, and then once they've begun to enjoy your product, you can then begin to build in the margins to cater for those extra costs that you'll put in while you are beginning to gain that market share. So by a couple of things which you can do, but certainly very interesting stuff, certainly as an entrepreneur who wants to join the entrepreneurship market. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Sorry, your question. Sorry, adaptability. Okay, I'm so sorry. I was trying to use my memory. So adaptability. I think that the issue of adaptability in Africa is certainly an issue. I am actually not very concerned about adaptability, because look at the mobile phone, all right? If you look at Europe, they adapted the mobile phone much slower than we did. I mean, MTN will tell you that when they came into this market, Celtel, or whatever they used to call themselves at the time, had been in the market, but they had priced their product out of the range of most people, and many people didn't want to have a mobile phone because the people who wanted to communicate had a landline which was being offered by UTL, but there were very few people. So MTN comes into the market and actually reduces the cost of a mobile phone, and suddenly it becomes a product for every single person in the country. So we adapted that. Look at mobile money. In Europe, they didn't adapt mobile money because they can use their banking system to transfer money. We adapted mobile money here because we wanted to short-circuit these barriers that some of the banks were creating for them to be accepted as customers. So I think that if you look at the economy we're in, if you look at where we are in our development cycle, there are a lot of things we can do to disrupt that market. And that's what the telcos did with the mobile money, to be able to disrupt the transfer market. And, you know, we can go on and on about examples of other industries that have been disrupted and therefore have led to adaptability because they have figured it out. I always tell people that one of the things that keeps me awake as the managing director of NSSF is not government policy. It is not that our employers are not signing up to NSSF as they used to. What really, really keeps me awake is a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old girl, boy, in their mother's bedroom or in their mother's house or in their father's garage or somewhere in one of the rooms in their house, coming up with an app that is going to totally make NSSF irrelevant. Because that can happen. If a kid comes up with a product that ensures that you, who is coming out of university, opens an account with them, and you are able to have an account for pension, you can have an account for medical, you can have an account for your mortgage, you can have an account for whatever it is that you require during your journey or to old age. That person is going to disrupt NSSF, right? And that's what worries me. So I wouldn't be worried about adaptability, because I think if you come up with a great product that can disrupt the market, then people will adapt it. So you've got to be clever, you've got to think. And we are not talking about innovation today, or I didn't talk about innovation today, but I always say this about innovation. Innovation is not about coming up with something really out of this world. Innovation is looking at what is happening and finding a solution to that little problem that can help you. You know, look at the likes of Amazon. Why did Amazon become so great a company? They sorted out a little problem relating to how you get your goods, how you order stuff. You know, they start off with books, and then they realize they can do it with almost everything in the world. So now Amazon is great, and they've taken over from what DHL and UPS used to do. And now UPS and DHL actually works for them. So it's thinking about how can you solve an ordinary problem through some incremental things. I'll tell you an example that I was involved in, and it's so long ago now, I can talk about it. One day, I was at Nile Bank, I was the managing director, and we made a decision to put in ATMs. At the time, in early 2000, there were not that many ATMs in the country, in fact. So we put in so many ATMs in and around Kampala, but we didn't have the customers to use them because we were not a big bank. We were not as big as Stanbic or even Standard Chartered Bank or even some of the other international brands, Barclays at the time. So I am running, and I know Japheth said he gets ideas when he's in the bathroom. Actually, I get my ideas when I'm running. I run quite often. I ran this morning. I did an 8K. So when I'm running, I really think a lot, and I'm thinking about ideas. So I was running, it was on a Sunday, I recall. And I'm thinking about this problem. How do we resolve this problem of we've got all these ATMs, we don't have customers to use them, and yet, people want these services. And I'm thinking, and bingo, I think about it. I say, why can't we introduce, and now it's obvious, why don't we introduce an ATM card that is also a checkbook, that is also a debit card, that is everything, and that ATM card is the one that you cannot use it in the branch, but you've got to use it at an ATM. Now, this might sound like it's an obvious thing today, but in those days it wasn't. Because in those days, people had their checkbooks to transact. Those days, people went into the branch to transact. Those days, people picked their money and drove it around in cars and boots. Those days, there was nothing like an ATM card. So we decided to open an ATM account of 10,000 shillings. Now, even today, in today's money, 10,000 shillings is a very small amount of money. To put it into perspective, to open an account at Barclays or Standard Chartered Bank or even Stanbic, you needed 1 million shillings. So, can you imagine, we started opening an account for 10,000 shillings. And everybody thought we were crazy. But guess what? People started queuing for those 10,000 accounts. And as they say, the rest is history. We had so much traction. Students were queuing up to get those cards. And it was the in thing to have. Everybody wanted that ATM card. And that came out of an idea just running. And it wasn't a new idea, but it was based on the fact that we had a problem to solve. How do we solve it? So that's what I always tell you. Innovation is about thinking about something that has been hampering your progress, and then finding a little solution on how you can sort it out. And therefore, I wouldn't care about adaptability, because that's what we did. And as we said today, everybody has an ATM now. But those days, they adapted largely because Nile Bank came up with a 10K account. And you can put that on history.
Thank you so much, Richard. Now we are moving on to our guest speaker, the Managing Director, MTN, who is represented by the head.
Good afternoon. My fellow technology. Good afternoon. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Sekade. I'm representing Wim, the CEO of MTN. He's not available today, but he sends regards. My fellow panelists, thank you very much for the insights. Very useful insights, if you ask me. But today, I'll just share a few thoughts I put together regarding the topic that they asked me to talk about, and that is technology and entrepreneurship. My background is I work for a technology company, so I have some little experience in terms of understanding how technology can build a business, how technology can propel an entrepreneur. So the thoughts I've put together, I hope, will give you some insights on what technology can do. We have already heard from Mr. Mumba, we have heard from Richard and Japheth. Disruption, of course, technology is one big disruptor, but again, on the other hand, it's a benefit that can propel an entrepreneur. So I'll start quickly. Clicker. Oh. Okay, how do we remove that? Okay, so my thoughts around what technology can do for an entrepreneur. And the background there I started with, the question was, is technology relevant? Maybe just as we wait for the... Okay. We have a technology problem here. It's off. Okay, so the question I started by asking is technology relevant in entrepreneurship? You could say yes, you could say no, but in my view, I believe that technology has changed the life of many an entrepreneur, as we have already had. And in this world that we live in the new digital era, techie-savvy entrepreneurs will make money through digital platforms. So you know that now you don't need an office. You don't need a brick and mortar office to be able to transact or do a business, or you don't need to rent a space to sell your products. You can do that on just a click of a button on a phone, on a smartphone. And you can work from anywhere at any time to reach your customers, to be able to transact and do business. So what does that say? That says that in the world that we are living in the new digital era, this is driving efficiencies. We have been in 2 years of COVID, lockdown. Many businesses were working from their houses, but they continue to run efficiently. And what we see is that the new future of entrepreneurs or businesses is to adopt the new hybrid model of working from home or anywhere. So it is efficient. It's going to drive businesses for many entrepreneurs. The other thing I believe that technology can do is distribution, okay? Other channels, other social platforms have been effective in terms of distributing products and services for many entrepreneurs. I'll give you an example of musicians. Musicians could not perform for the last 2 years to audiences because of COVID. So the enterprising ones went to social platforms like YouTube to post their music, to sell their music to audiences around the world, streaming to audiences around the world, not only Uganda. And I have followed a couple of them. For instance, I know that YouTube is a source of revenue for musicians. For I think every 1,000 views, no, 1 million views, they pay you $1,000. So if you're an astute musician or a rapper, like you said, and you put out a song on YouTube, very good song, you get 10 million views in a couple of months. You can do the numbers. So that is an avenue or a source of revenue for enterprising entrepreneurs. I'll give you some examples. Some young musicians. I know Azawi. Azawi has just started doing music for, I think, 2 or 3 years. And her managers realized that she will be able to make money through streaming. So I don't know whether she has been to Times Square, but her billboards are in Times Square, for those of you who travel Times Square. What does that tell you? She's distributing her music more than out of Uganda, and she has made money. So technology is driving distribution channels. TikTok is another example of a channel that young entrepreneurs are using to market themselves. And you, the young people, have the competitive advantage because you're very techie savvy. You understand technology faster than the old people like us, the old generation. And that is the competitive edge that will enable you build your brand. If you have, for instance, you have a business like his, you build your brand and you'll be able to grow. And of course, we know platforms that people have built brands like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So for me, if you ask me, technology is relevant for an entrepreneur. So then the second question I would ask myself is, what is the role? Why is it important? Why is technology important to build or grow an entrepreneur brand or business? The biggest thing that is important for a business is communication. If you can communicate with your customers regularly, daily, effectively, then you can be able to reach a wider base. You can be able to collect feedback from them. Feedback is very important from your customers. What are you doing well? What do you need to add into your product base? What do you need to change? How do you need to serve them better? So technology has made it easy to communicate through email, Facebook, Twitter. All these channels, social channels, have been able to enable entrepreneurs to communicate with their customers and also increase their customer base. The other big thing is advertisement. It's easier to reach a wider audience through social platforms. So when you send out hits, you have, for instance, you're on YouTube, you have many people following you, then it's easier to send out to a wider base, and you can also have influencers that can be able to propel your product and to reach a wider, diverse customer base. So advertising has been made easy through technology. The other thing that entrepreneurs will benefit from technology is you can be able to conduct surveys. Online surveys are very easy. You send out a questionnaire online. It is filled in real time by your customers. You'll be able to get useful feedback other than using these old channels of questionnaires. You hand out papers. So online rapid feedback surveys can be used through technology, which is very useful to grow a business because you get feedback that can be able to enable you change and adapt better. Also, the other critical thing that technology helps entrepreneurs is research and development. Of course, entrepreneurship and technology is bound on continuously reinventing, remodeling, changing yourself. So through research and development, you can get in-depth insights and knowledge, which you can utilize, again, to expand your business. Collaboration speaks to communication. Of course, you, the techie people, collaboration, we talked about it. Sharing ideas. For you to grow as techie, savvy, or entrepreneurs, you need to share ideas. Of course, I think now you can be able to, what do they call it, to, when you come up with an idea, you can be able to, you can be able to patent it. So, but sharing ideas, collaborating with your technical stakeholders can enable you innovate more and improve your products and services as technical entrepreneurs. Then lastly, of course, entrepreneurs manage a workforce remotely. We have been working from home because of COVID. We see that it's possible to run a business. I'll give you an example. At MTN, 90% of our workforce has been working from home for the last 2 years, and we have continued to grow as a business. So it is efficient, and you can be able to reach your workforce remotely, hence driving efficiencies. So some of those are the technology benefits that can help entrepreneurs like you who are trying to build yourself or to build brands. Then I thought I would touch base on emerging technology and entrepreneurship trends in Uganda. My colleagues have talked about it. We have seen a lot of startups that have started from small ideas, continuing, and now they're big brands, they're big companies, and also they are generating revenue. But from where I sit in the communications world, we see that digitalization is the key for the future of Africa's progress. So everybody should have or should be connected to a phone, should be digitally savvy, understand what the phone can do for them. And I think this will be able also to drive the future entrepreneur. If you understand a business, you understand technology, then you should be able to use your phone to do all these services on apps to be able to deliver efficiencies. Then the other big thing there is we have seen that many companies have adopted hybrid business models. For instance, a company like MTN, one of the hybrid models we have adopted is people working from home, some working from the office. Again, people are able to drive, people are able to be productive, and we see that we get productivity from the workforce. So such hybrid business models can be able so to help entrepreneurs like you who are trying to start up in the business world. Then he spoke about some of the startups that have made it. I looked at Rocket Health, very impressive story. Young man who started slowly is now a very big entrepreneur. But again, when you read some of those stories, they can give you inspiration that small ideas can create a vision, can create an end goal, an outcome. As long as you're humble, as long as you're patient, and you can be able to fall down and come up. So many startups have started, young entrepreneurs like you, but again, these have created opportunities for the youth. Richard spoke about the few jobs that are existing in the market. Employers like companies like Mtn are also not employing so many people because the jobs can be done by technology. The jobs can be done outside Uganda. So you need to reinvent yourself to be able to be the next entrepreneur. Then there's need to adopt innovation and increase pursuit of digital-related skills. Yes, I speak about this from where I sit. The skills that we are looking for as employers, we call them the futuristic or digital skills. So the new generation or the new skills that we require for people like you are the skills we call futuristic skills, skills like social marketing, skills like artificial intelligence, skills like digital marketing, fintech skills. I'll give you an example. We are trying to hire manpower for the new mobile money company. But some of the skills that we are looking for, we have not got from the external people. The fintech skills, people don't have these skills. So what we are trying to say and encourage people is to adopt and start learning or start studying such skills for the future. And lastly, for me, in conclusion, I believe that all potential entrepreneurs like you must embrace technology and also embrace innovation, because if you are to survive in the next or in the competitive landscape that we live in, it is all going to be about digitalization and technology. So for me, in a nutshell, when I see where entrepreneurship is going, I see we have a lot of young talent, young skills, and we believe that that will be the future to drive entrepreneurship and development in Uganda. So those were my thoughts. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you very much, Michael. I think we've all heard what he said. We can use technology for communication. We can use technology for distribution, for feedback. And I think you've seen the examples he has given. How many have taken an Uber taxi lately or a safe border? You can see that is an aspect of distribution. And then there's an aspect of communication, because when your ride is almost getting to you, they'll tell you your ride is 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away. That is communication. And the driver will even call you within the app. You see, eh? So these are practical things that he's talking about. And then they ask you to rate the ride. So you see, that is feedback. So they are using technology for distribution, for communication, and to get feedback about the service. And so you can see that actually they do not own the platforms. They own the platform, they don't own the cars. Just imagine if Uber had decided to buy millions of cars across the world. That would be very massive, right? But all they did was use technology and build their brand and then do all those things on technology. So it's very possible. Thank you so much, Michael. Okay. And now we are going to hand over to the floor. Kindly, let's receive some feedback.
All right. Thank you so much, Barbara. Again, a round of applause for Mr. Michael Sekade, General Manager, HR for MTN Uganda. And we continue to promise that each and every day of this expo will be bringing more and more of these distinguished gentlemen and ladies to share more insight on what it takes to step into the future of work. I'd like to open the floor right now for some questions from our audience here. We have a question from our gentleman all the way in the corner. Your name and your question, sir.
Hi everyone, my name is Hussein and I'm a web developer. Thank you so much to all the panelists for the really insightful discussions. My question is that as an HR manager for MTN, how difficult do you find it to get talent in Uganda, especially like in the young people? Like you mentioned, you find challenges in finding fintech talent for the mobile money company, but how big is the magnitude across, like both in technology and other fields, business, administration, etc.? And how often do you have to look outside Uganda to now source that talent, like expats and such? And what can you, the corporates, do to solve this talent shortage in the country, especially among the youth? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Samson here.
Hello, my name is Samson. And another question goes to the good sir from MTN. You spoke about your team at MTN. Almost 90% of your team has been working remote for the past 2 years since the lockdown started. I have some friends who work with MTN and they've been telling me about how you guys work, not the deep things. And I would like to know, has their productivity improved from when they were physical in their workplaces to when they shifted to remote? And would MTN be looking at having a 100% remote work policy? And what is your personal take, remote versus physical?
Okay.
All right, Joy with a question.
Thank you. My name is Joy, the 7th star. They say if you are an artist, you introduce yourself. So I'm not sorry for introducing myself. My question goes, is from when you say that distribution, how Azawi is doing so well. I think that has a lot to do with distribution, with you getting in touch with a distribution company, and then a distribution company will distribute your music online and get in touch with all those other distributors to get your music out there. I happened to get signed by a record label. And
the advice I would say is, if you're still in school, you're doing HR, I did HR. In the next 10 years, HR may not be relevant. The relevant HR of 10 years will be, you have to understand analytics, first and foremost. You have to understand numbers. He talked about numbers. Numbers is not for only finance people. So if I'm able to do a manpower plan for the company, how does it add productivity? So what we're trying to say is the skills that will be marketable, techie skills, artificial intelligence. For instance, artificial intelligence, I mean skills like you're distributing your products, you're selling products, you have to do tips. What are we doing now? We have developed a policy called Anywhere, Anytime, Flexi Work Time Policy. So that policy is going to have a hybrid model. You can select some time to work from your home. You can select some time to work from the office. Of course, it has certain jobs that it will be speaking to. If I work in the service center, I may not be able to benefit. But that policy will help people to also have work-life balance, because COVID also helped people to have a work-life balance because they're working with their families. So that's what we are adopting, a hybrid model, flexi policy. Okay. My friend, the musician, unfortunately, I'm not a music mogul, but I read about what people do in terms of distributing their music. For instance, you as an upcoming artist, of course, you will have a disadvantage because you don't have the resources, you don't have the label. But you can sign up with a label. Of course, get an astute lawyer who understands these things. You can sign up, have an agreement. Of course, don't sign because they've given you an upfront money. Just understand what the agreement is, what your rights are, your distribution rights. Then when you learn the game, because I read about this guy, what's his name? There's a guy who started, he didn't know English, I'll get his name. So he got a handler who was doing his Facebook, who was doing his Twitter. The guy has become big. These guys registered his Twitter handles and Facebook. So they had a big fight. But when you learn the game, you've earned some money, then you can buy out your contract. We have had musicians who have bought out their contract. He's a big musician in Tanzania who used to work with Diamond Platinum. He had a contract, a buyout clause. He became big, he bought himself out, now he's on his own. But you first have to learn the game. That's what I can advise. Yeah.
Do we have some feedback online?
1, 2, yes. Yes, that was all the feedback that we had. But again, thank you so much. A round of applause for the entire panel today. This is how we kickstart the NSSF Career Expo. I just want to say a special thank you to each and every member on the stage right now. Starting, of course, with Michael Sekade, General Manager, HR, MTN Uganda. Right next to him, Mr. Japhet Kawanguzi, the CEO of the Innovation Village. And right in the middle, the MD, Managing Director of NSSF, Richard Biarugaba. Thank you so much for your time and your knowledge. And right next to him, one of our sponsors for the NSSF Career Expo as well, the Managing Director of Absa, Mr. Mumba Kalifungwa. Thank you so much for sharing. And of course, our on-stage moderator and also the Head of Marketing and Communications at NSSF, Barbara Arimi. Round of applause for the entire team. Now, as we promised, we said 3 things that we want you to experience at this expo this year is to explore, experience, engage. What we say? Explore, experience, and engage. So the expo doesn't end now. We're actually going to get into a short quiz session, and I'll be sharing that with a team member of mine in a bit. But also, we'd love for you to take a part in the actual experience of the expo. We're here at Motive, and we have amazing displays around you that you can just tap into and ask a few questions. We'll also have a Q&A session with the panelists today at the small booth right there, the entry booth where we walked in. So if you have any other questions, we'll also be addressing those in that session. We also have the questions from social media. We'll be doing our best as NSSF Uganda to respond to them on our different social media platforms. On Twitter, that's at NSSF Uganda. We'll be responding to your questions online there. Any other questions also from the audience today, we'll be responding to those as well. Remember, this is a 3-day event, each and every day starting at 9 a.m. all the way till midday, and we can even extend as much as possible because there's so much to learn when it comes to the future of work. I just want to say a big, big thank you to everyone here. I want to hand over back to Barbara on the stage as we get ready for the next session.
Thank you so much. A round of applause to the speakers. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I know you meant to share with the students, but I was also learning. So thank you so much. Thanks so much to the students. You've been a vibrant audience. I so love your questions. That means you're thinking on your feet, and that is really very good. Keep it up. And thank you so much to my team, NSSF marketing team. Wow. They told us to surround yourself with a team of people who are either as good as yourself or better than you, and I can definitely attest that my team lives up to that description. Thank you so much. Yes? You're developing some thoughts and better. Yes? All right, so we've come to the end of this session. We'll now exit the panel, and then we'll just stay on because, like you've already been told, We are going to have a quiz. There are prizes to be won. So the Career Expo is still going on for today. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.
Still have the laptop to give away for day one. So still stick around for the quiz. We're going to be doing that in a bit. However, we have lunch available on the first floor.
We are starting with a quiz. Please remember these are quick wins. We have big prizes that include brand new laptops, big Bluetooth speakers, And all we need is for you to be ready with your full names, the course name at the university, and your year of study. The quiz starts right about now if you have your phone. So the step one is for you to visit joinmyquiz.com. Visit www.joinmyquiz.com. I hope we are there.